Well, there's one player that's not coming back to Arkansas, Casey Opitz. He's headed in the draft. I don't know what round, but he's gone. He should be gone. He should be a professional catcher for a long, long time. And that was one thing Dave Van Horn also touched on in his Zoom that concluded about 45 minutes ago. Clay Henry was on that as well. And Clay, you've been a busy bee since the end of that Zoom. Already hammered out a column. What you got? You don't have to tell us exactly what you got, but what you got planned.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was just kind of the roster changes. I wouldn't call it a column. I would say it was more of a reporter's notebook type deal. Just boom, just hammered it out. It's hey, I guess at this long in, it doesn't take me long to write. I wrote basketball on deadlines forever and ever, for a morning newspaper. This isn't rocket science.
Clay, do you still know exactly how many words per minute you can type? Because there was a time and place where that meant something. I don't know if today is that time and place.
I don't know what I do now. I'm plenty fast, but I was 120 to 130 at one time.
Wow. That's
pretty good.
Nobody knows what they can type anymore, Drew, because it just doesn't seem – I don't think it seems to matter. Maybe court reporters. It's a different story, though. Much different. By the way, Clay, say hi to Drew. I think you already have, but he's this is the first time you're on halftime with him.
Well, I've been listening to Drew, so I think we don't want to say too much too quick, but I think you're going to be okay.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it, Clay. And I want to make sure that you don't. Do you just hate Ty, or is it all 26-year-olds? Because I'm 26, and I need to make sure it's just Ty.
No, it's just Ty.
Okay, good.
It's just the 26-year-olds that walk in front of him as he's swinging a golf club.
There's no hate in my heart for anybody, and there especially isn't any hate for Ty. I just need to coach him and bring him along because he's not the finished product yet, and he doesn't know that. He thinks that he's made it, and he was just fortunate and lucked into a good job. And I don't think he earned it. So we're gonna make him earn it every step of the way. And Tommy, and I talked about that, and he's like, I don't know what else to do but to just promote him. And I said, well, let's make it hard on him.
Yeah.
So that was my deal with Tommy.
He's like a life coach for him.
He didn't say that
a public
about you,
life
Drew,
coach.
so
Yeah.
I guess maybe I don't know.
Well, one thing you definitely won't have to teach me is golf etiquette, because I heard you yell at Rag Ty about that, I think, earlier this week, and I know how to conduct myself on a golf course, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's not just golf. He needs to learn how to do radio too. It's just like
He needs how to say the word Arkansas properly.
He said Orkadelphia yesterday.
I heard that. Ooh. I don't know where that town is located. I've been to Arkadelphia many times.
Lovely town.
Yeah. So I just if Fitz Hill heard that, he would be really upset.
Clay, what is the worst thing that you can do on a golf course as far as etiquette is concerned? And honestly, I need the education here because I've golfed like 7 times in my life.
Stepping in the line.
I already know not to walk in front during your backswing because I did it as a baseball mascot in front of an Army retired general at the Fort Bragg Air Force Base golf course in 1995. I learned quickly, but I didn't know until then. What's the worst thing you can do?
Yeah, so if everybody in the group if they move, like your regular guys, if they move around and do things, you get used to that, and none of that stuff even bothers you. But, just blurting out the start of your swing, just talking randomly. I play a lot of golf with Harry King, and you have to learn with him that he puts the tee in the ground and puts his ball, and he takes his stance, and the ball is launched in the matter of like 0.8 seconds. So when he walks to put his tee in, you better already be in your position. And the guys that played with him understood that. And not that he would get upset if, somebody moved or anything, but it's like you don't want to do that to him. I would say stepping in your line.
That's my big
you're
one.
putting. My ball mark's out there and it's 10 feet away, and somebody puts out, and then they step right in your line. Even if they don't do anything to it, you do not step in my line. And people that drag their feet and move around when they miss a putt, they leave a mark. I mean, that's just to me. Is just there's no place in it, and it's frustrating. So, Ty was just I was just messing with him a little bit, but he's got a long ways to go as far as golf. His play is poor, his etiquette is poor, his dress is poor,
personal hygiene.
Yeah, I think he drives the cart poorly. I mean, it's. I was relieved that he quit after 9 holes. He had to go get back to something in Northwest Arkansas. I told Tommy, I said, yeah, he could have left after 3. That would have been okay.
Clay, where does constant, sarcastic running commentary about every golf shot you try to make, where does that rank on the list?
That's pretty high. Yeah, that's pretty high. It's like, and I don't like it when people talk to the ball. It does not listen. So hit your shot. Just move on, like hook, get down.
Those are the same people that scream. Those are the same people that scream at dice at the casino.
Yeah, they don't listen. And I mean, it's like, and so I'm sitting there ready to hit my shot. I'm just staring at Ty. It's like, okay, whenever you're done. I mean, the ball's not going to listen. If you play in Scotland, the caddies will scold you for talking to your ball in the air. They will. Oh, they will rip you. Those older gentlemen, they're like, let it, the ball does not listen.
Is that your Scottish accent?
It's probably half Spanish, half Scottish.
It sounded more like Mandy Patinkin.
Laddie is
Princess
definitely
Bride.
Scottish, yeah.
One thing I know you'll like about Drew, Clay, is that he already comes with, since he's from Memphis and he's a University of Memphis former employee and a grad out of the University of Memphis, he has a healthy dislike for every other SEC team, especially Mississippi and Mississippi State. We might have to teach him some things about Texas. So, by the way, Drew, we're all huge UVA baseball fans tomorrow night.
So I'm all for it.
I promise never again on this show to call Memphis State or Tiger High. How's that?
I appreciate that. Memphis State doesn't bother me that much because we do kind of lean into the throwbacks. But Clay, if you ever want to see my face get completely red and smoke come out of my ears, you refer to the University of Memphis as Tiger High. That is the one thing I cannot stand. So, just fair warning if you ever do.
But see, I can.
Maddie's gonna have to hold me back.
Bag of tricks. Yeah, that's I'll withhold that for a really, really, appropriate day. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Hey Clay, I saw the Arkansas basketball. I don't know if it was them or if it was the SEC. I saw from Scotty Bordelon tweeted it that Arkansas basketball is going to be hosting West Virginia in January as part of the Big 12 SEC Challenge. I got to tell you, I remember talking with Ty about this. For me, I don't know if you could call it like a natural rival, but it's just that is a school and a fan base and a state that it's not exactly like Arkansas, but it's pretty close as far as the way they view the Mountaineers and the way most people in Arkansas view the Razorbacks. I love this matchup.
Yeah, and I think you could have a concert the night before and have Justin Moore and Brad Paisley. I mean, it'd be perfect. Those, they'd come out on stage and wave their flags. I know Justin's tour bus has a Razorback on the back of it. There's probably some Mountaineer stuff on, in Paisley's bus. So,
well, hey,
I guess he has a bus.
I guess if the AMP is scheduling Pitbull the week that Arkansas plays Texas for football, they can at least get, a real West Virginia guy and a real Arkansas guy together, maybe for the week, although it's the middle of January. Clay, Dave Van Horn had a Zoom, and a couple of things that stood out for me here. One, this is really good news about Peyton Pallette, the elbow injury that cost him I think that was the last 3 weeks of the regular season, then the entire postseason. And initially, the thought was he's going to need Tommy John surgery. He did not go under the knife. He is rehabbing, and if things are going well, he could be one of your frontline starters next year. I think that's the best news that I heard off the Zoom.
Yeah, and the idea that they might have well-defined starting pitching would probably be welcome news to a lot of fans, and that probably was the frustration. And I can remember you and I talked in early January. I mean, right after the start of the new year, and just did not know who were going to be the starting pitchers. And really, that was the way the season went too. So, I think you'll have. This would be my thought: Pallette, Connor Nolan, Jackson Wiggins, Heston Toll, and maybe 2 or 3 of the freshmen who are really, really talented if they get to campus. But I think that everybody is like, oh, they lost Kevin Kopps and he did everything. Well, that's true, but I think that you can still have effective pitching without having Kevin Kopps, and that might be blasphemy. But I think you will see, more definition to a starting pitching staff, starters next year.
Well, and Dave referenced some incoming freshmen.
I need to say that too. Yeah,
right. That's true too. And he said there's no, Patrick's going to go in the draft. It'll same be with Christian Franklin. He doesn't expect Jalen Battles to come back, but he did expect Zebulon Vermillion to come back, and I think if that's the case, that could end up being one of your weekend guys. He did show flashes as a starter. Connor Nolan too. No doubt. Another one that stood out, and I guess I just expect that he's going to be drafted because of how impressive his swing is, how athletic he is, how he took to first base his first year ever playing that position, Brady Slavens. I didn't realize that Brady, he does have 2 years of eligibility left. So, I mean, I would imagine that professional teams want him. It's a matter of if they're going to meet an asking price, because if he comes back, he could end up moving up in the draft, because I think he could have a better, more productive season than he'd had this last year.
Yeah, he's this is what I suspect will happen with Brady. He'll come back, and you might see the swing shorten a little bit. You can still be aggressive, but he can. His swing was. I guess I thought, well, he's probably not going to have an ankle injury this year, but he's going to tear his rib cage loose at some point this year.
Yeah,
because that was a vicious swing if I ever saw one. I mean that's as vicious of a college swing as I think I've ever seen.
I think the word you might want to use is big. Sometimes we get a little big because it was a big swing.
And he's strong enough. He doesn't have to do that to hit home runs. He doesn't have to hit it over the building every time. He just has to hit it over the wall. And it looked like he wanted to hit it to the tunnel. I'm talking about, down by Fort Smith, the Bobby Hopper tunnel.
Yeah, Clay, future looks very bright for Dave Van Horn and the baseball team. Obviously, going to have a little trouble replacing some of those guys, but if history winds up repeating itself, it seems like DVH won't have any problem. Now, college football is a lot closer than 2022 baseball, and some of the big things going around college football is all the changes that could possibly happen. And obviously, Scott Strickland coming out with his scheduling manifesto and talking about getting rid of divisions and kind of only have 3 permanent conference opponents and rotate the rest to ensure rivalries. If you could pick 3 permanent SEC opponents for Arkansas, who would it be?
Oh, I mean, I'd just say South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky.
The easiest ones to win?
No, I don't know. I mean, we've kind of been down this road before, and, Tennessee was a permanent opponent when Arkansas first came in the league. It was South Carolina and Tennessee. Now, maybe I would start with maybe the oldest rival that they have, and that would be Texas A&M. The closest would be Missouri. And I don't know who the third would be. Maybe Ole Miss. That would satisfy a lot of people in East Arkansas. That's not the easiest. Is not the worst. It's. But I don't know. It's not everybody is going to want to do. Alabama. I mean, Alabama the fact that they control the league, they'll probably have Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Auburn. That's probably who they'll pick. Two of the tougher ones, or maybe one of the tougher ones. Tennessee's not so tough right now, but it seems like they really like to play Vanderbilt. Talking about Alabama.
I think everybody would like to.
Well, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? But it does put you in a situation if this, and it isn't even a plan yet. It's just it's a thought of what scheduling can look like in the future. But this remaking of the college football playoff, which I think is going to happen. I think it's a slam dunk. It's going to happen. It's going to put pressure to schedule tougher, and the divisions. Probably you want to do away with them partially because of the playoff and the idea of, you play every team at least every 2 or 3 years, I think, in the SEC makes you feel like you're in a real league instead of like, you hardly ever play Florida. I know you played Georgia back-to-back years, but it's like you used to not play Georgia at all. I really like the idea of rotating those opponents around a little more.
Feels like you're not really even in a conference with some of them.
Yeah, I just kind of think in my mind, when's the last time I've been to X? When's the last time? It's just you haven't. Some of these places you go in and it's like, oh, there's a new building there. And, it's like, well, yeah, it's been there for 5 years. Well, that's when the last time I've been here. So, yeah, it's how many times have I been to Vanderbilt? Maybe 3 times, in 30 years. That's weird, isn't it? But that's the truth.
Yeah, but basketball, of course, you play everybody every year because you got enough games. Baseball, you play everybody every other year because you play 10 weeks. Football is just 8. And so that's why it's like, these divisions, I think at one point it made sense because you wanted to have a championship game, but you don't necessarily need divisions to have a championship game. I think I'd like them to play Ole Miss, LSU, and Texas A&M. I want to do away with Mizzou. I know that's almost impossible because of the sponsored rivalry, but it hasn't worked yet.
Yeah, the sponsored rivalry to me is just like, give me a break. That's not to me. And I guess I hesitate to even type that it is a sponsored rivalry. I just leave that out. I just move on.
Well, look, there's people that will. I think there's Don't you think there's a company or two in Arkansas that would pay for a sponsored rivalry with A&M and maybe even with LSU? Because they've had some memorable games throughout the years. It means more.
Yeah, I just don't even think you need that.
That's right.
That's, to me, the next thing, it'll say, Tyson or Walmart on the uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's coming. It's that's just the way of the world, right? You watch I watched the U.S. Open, and I was like, where else can they put something on Dustin Johnson's shirt or Louis Oosthuizen's shirt? It's just like, okay, if you don't have NetJets on your collar, that must mean that you have a tour bus or you go commercially. But if so that means you're a second-rate pro golfer if you're not flying on NetJets. So,
man, there have been athletes that have been doing that for years. They're called NASCAR drivers. Every inch of the car and almost every inch of their suits.
If you can see it, you can sell it.
That's exactly right. They figured that out years ago.
Yep. Oh, it's coming in college football too. We'll have advertisers eventually
on the uniforms. You get baseball people that are just upset that there's even a Nike swoosh on the uniform that Nike made. They even hate that.
I watched some Premier League soccer, and I can't tell there's no name of the team on the uniforms. They don't have that. It says Emirates, or it says something else on their shirts. I guess you have to know the little, chest logo for the